Good day everyone, my name is Tansher and Faith D from BTPDET GFD 2B, and now I will discuss about the ASEAN. First, let's discuss the overview of ASEAN, or what's the meaning of ASEAN first. So, ASEAN means the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. ASEAN is established in 1967 by 5 founding nations. The 5 founding nations are the Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, and Thailand. Their goal is to promote peace, stability, and cooperation in Southeast Asia. Economically, they aim to enhance cooperation, boost trades, and drive development across the region. Kumbaga, gusto nila by just establishing this Asian integration, this Asian nation or this Asian organization in economically, they want to promote cooperation, boost trades in each countries or each founding countries, and also to drive development each country across the region. So, the ASEAN is also promotes political, economic, and social and security cooperation. In political cooperation, they discuss, or all the countries, they will discuss about the protection in each countries and to avoid conflicts and also to solve in any issues together in political cooperation. And next is for the economic cooperations. The member nations, they want to improve the trades, investment, and economic growth just by removing barriers supporting each other's countries. I mean barriers of trading regulations like that. Like for example, the AFTA or the Asian Free Trade Area. Their work is to reduce tariffs between countries of the Asian Association or Asian Organization. So this organization helps to reduce tariffs between countries of importing and exporting goods or any other products between those countries. It is one of the how they will it is one of the collaboration. Okay, and that is one step of how they will promote economic growth. Next is the social cooperation. ASEAN addresses social challenges like education, health, and poverty. They aim to improve the people's lives across the nation or the region. Like for example, the ASEAN collaborates with the health organization or ASEAN Vaccine Security and Self-Vaccination Reliance Initiative. This ensures that each members of the countries is in good health and healthy. So, it is one of the social cooperation. They are helping each other's health and also they are promoting their social cooperation. Next is the security cooperation. Well, the country of the ASEAN associate organization, they collaborate with the security to tackle any issues like terrorism, mga transnational crime, and maritime issues, ensuring safety for all. So, here in the security cooperation, they are collaborating with the security for their own protection also. Of course, protection, security is one of the important thing for them to be feel safe each country. Let's proceed to the next subtopic. The ASEAN or ASEAN organization, they focuses on unity, stability, and growth. So, all the Asian or ASEAN organization or the countries or the 5 founding nations or the all of the countries, they all unite. Just by uniting, they can gain trust in each, and also they will build a stability, unity, and also they promote and they will have economic growth. And yes, this ASEAN organization is also, what that's the goal nila kasi is to unite and to promote stability and for the growth na rin for their economy. ASEAN vision of, they have a vision in 2025. This built in 3 pillars. So these are the political, security, economic, and social-cultural. That is the 3 pillars. In political security community, their goal is to build peaceful, stable and resilient region by enhancing cooperative measures for conflict resolution and improving regional security frameworks. With this goal, they can really unite and they can really be stable and be resilient talaga. Kasi political security community is one of the important goal of them, or one of the important build 3 pillars of their vision in 2025. Because it focuses in peace and for their stability in each country of the ASEAN. Next is in the economic community. This pillar aim to do a highly integrated and competitive regional economy by facilitating a free flow of goods and also services investment. So on here, they promote stability and sustainability in economic growth of all the Asian countries. Next is the socio-cultural community. So here, to foster a community that is inclusive and people-centered. So they are focusing on enhancing the lives of the netizens or the lives of all the netizens of the ASEAN. They will address issues like in education, in health, like I said earlier, in the social-cultural. So, in the vision of ASEAN in 2025, they also promote peace, stability, and political cooperation. Of course, they will remain stable, and also there is also a peace pa rin, even though it is matagal na. Kahit anong mangyari, hindi pa rin magbabago yung pagkikitungo ng lahat ng countries. Next is the challenges of the ASEAN integration. One of the challenges of the ASEAN integration is the political diversity policy in harmonization. So in here, like, all the countries have different opinions naman, diba? Or have different laws. So, like for example, the law of the other country is not compatible to the other country. So here it is complicated. They will have a conflict na. And it is one of the challenges of the ASEAN integration. Hindi nagkakasundo or hindi na-harmonize yung laws, or hindi nagkakasundo yung dalawang countries. Next challenge of the ASEAN integration is differing and national interest complicate integration efforts. Here, like for example, each country has different goals, different priorities, which can conflict in each or the all of the countries. This challenge makes harder for for both countries kasi it is not really smoothly working to them. Let's proceed to the economic integration. So first is the removal of trade and investment barriers. So just by removing this regulation of the barriers in exporting and exporting between the countries can really make it easier to buy goods or services throughout the investment of each markets in different countries. And it also promotes economic growth na rin kasi barriers is really hard to face in economic integration. Next is they expand market access for member states. In here, it is only same with the first definition I have said earlier. Expand market access for member states. So when the barriers are gone, each country can be it's easy for them to sell goods, sell products, sell services, and export and import services or goods. And it is working smoothly na rin kasi there's no hindrance na for them to have a conflict kasi wala namang regulation barriers in economic integration. Next is the key trade agreements. Here, the AFTA or the ASEAN Free Trade Association, they reduce tariffs, boost Asian trade. Oh no, I mean the ASEAN Free Trade Area pala, not association. The AFTA's role is to reduce tariffs and makes the products more cheaper. So by the help of the AFTA, the goods and the products of imported countries, they can sell it in cheaper price. So it's really helpful for the netizens of each country. So in here they have an agreement have occurred of AFTA and the ASEAN. And that is one of the benefit that if you have an agreement on the AFTA organization. Next is they have an agreement or a contract to the RCEP. RCEP means the largest global trade agreement or the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. So this RCEP is the one of the biggest organization or biggest trade agreement in the world. It is covering 15 countries. Wow. Include na doon yung Japan, the China, South Korea, Australia, and New Zealand. It aims also to reduce tariffs, same lang sa AFTA, and also to make it easier for the countries to do business with the other countries. Same lang din yung work nilang both organization. But the RCEP is more popular than the AFTA. Okay? And the ASEAN have an agreement to this organization. Imagine.
Good day everyone, my name is Maria Aliana Perez. Today, I'm gonna tackle to you the continuation about the ASEAN integration. ASEAN integration political. So ASEAN integration political, it is the harmonizing policies from other countries. So under the ASEAN political is the ASEAN Security Community. It's aimed to ensure that the country in the region lives in peace. So dito naman, the ASEAN community or the ASEAN integration, they want a stable and peaceful community for the citizens. Next is the ASEAN Regional Forum. It's aimed to foster a dialogues and cooperation among its members on security matters. So dito naman sa ASEAN Regional Forum, where presidents can go to a meeting and tell them the challenges that facing of their countries. Ito yung mga problema na hindi na nasusolusyon kaya kailangan ng tulong ng organisasyon. Next is the ASEAN Integration Cultural. So under the ASEAN Integration Cultural is the ASEAN Social Culture Community. So dito naman, the ASEAN organization wants a diverse and foster understanding to each countries. So it's aimed to promote social and cultural developments among Asian member states, promoting cultural exchange. People shared culture and tradition in exchange, fostering understanding and unity. So, by promoting an cultural exchange, dito na pumapasok yung understanding sa bawat cultures, traditions, and we value and respect their cultures. Kapag alam na natin yung cultures nila, so, ganito pala yun, ganyan. So, maiintindihan natin kung bakit ganyan yung culture. So, under the ASEAN integration, cultural is preserving cultural heritage. So, we should safeguarding traditions, language, and identities to prevent cultural loss over time. So, we should protect our natures, not only the natures, but also our cultural heritage. Kung ano man yung pinanggagawa natin ngayon is nakakasira sa kalikasan, we should stop it. Next is diba? By continue to treasure our cultural heritage, kung ano man yung natatamasan natin, sa susunod na henerasyon is magagamit din nila. Kung ano man yung mga nagagawa natin ngayon is magagawa din ng ibang henerasyon kapag sila na yung gagamit or masasaksiyan nila yung ganda ng mga cultural heritage dito sa bansa natin. That's all. Thank you po.
Good morning to each and everyone. My name is Fiona Samuel S. Ramirez from Bitibited HBAC 2B. My topic is all about North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which is NATO. Founding and historical background. Formed in 1949 to counter Soviet expansion and protect Western Europe during the Cold War. Aimed to deter aggression through collective defense. Ang meaning ng NATO ay North Atlantic Treaty Organization, na ang purpose nito ay isang mahalagang alyansa para sa kapayapaan at seguridad. Ang NATO ay paraan ng mga bansa sa West para magkais at magpakita ng lakas laban sa banta ng pagpapalawak na impluwensya ng Soviet. Napakahalaga ng alyansang ito sa pagbuo ng Cold War at pagpapanatili ng kapayapaan sa Europe. Ang layunin ng NATO ay pigilin ang mga pag-atake sa pamamagitan ng pagkakaisa ng mga miyembro nito para ipagtanggol ang isa't isa. Ito ay isang paraan para mahadlangan ang mga pananalakay sa pamamagitan ng paglikha ng isang malakas at pinagsamang pwersa. Membership and expansion began with 12 Western European nations. Expanded after the Cold War to include former Soviet bloc countries. Recent addition: Finland and Sweden joined in 2023. Nagsimula ang NATO noong 1949. May 12 Western European ito na ang mga ito ay Belgium, Canada, Denmark, France, Iceland, Italy, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Norway, Portugal, United Kingdom, at United States. Pagkatapos matapos ang Cold War, noong early 1990s, ang NATO ay lumawak upang isama ang mga dating bansa na sa ilalim ng impluwensya ng Soviet. Ito ay nakita bilang isang paraan upang matiyak ang kapayapaan at katatagan sa Europe at pigilin ang Russia na muling ipatupad ang impluwensya nito. Collective Defense Principle, Article 5. An attack on one is an attack on all. A strong deterrent against aggression symbolizing unity. Invoke only once after the 9/11 attacks. Ang prinsipal ng NATO na one for all and all for one ay nagsisilbing malakas na panlaban laban sa pananalakay na nagkakaisa sa mga members nito sa isang makapangyarihang pwersa ng depensa. Ang pangakong ito ay naisa katuparan lamang noong isang beses. Pagkatapos ng mga pag-atake noong 9/11 na nagpapakita ng kausayan nito sa pagpigil sa mga conflicts, global conflicts, and peacekeeping. Active in the Balkans, Afghanistan, Libya, and other peacekeeping missions. Modern challenges and strategies evolution. Addressing cybersecurity threats, hybrid warfare, terrorism, and Russia's aggression in Ukraine. Bukod sa pangunahing tungkulin nito sa depensa, aktibong nakikilahok ang NATO sa misyon. Sa pagpapanatili ng kapayapaan, nahahanap ito sa mga modernong hamon tulad ng mga banta sa cyber, hybrid warfare, at terrorism, at inaandap nito ang mga strategies upang matugunan ang mga hamon na to. Kabilang ang pagsuporta sa Ukraine laban sa pagsalakay sa Russia. That's all. Thank you.
Good day everyone, I'm Julina Anti from Bitibeted HBAC. I'm one of the reporter of Group 5. So today I'll be tackling about the capitalism. So dito sa capitalism is we don't need na i-control ng government yung production natin. So bale, yung sa capitalism is yung private owner talaga yung nagko-control sa mga product at sa company. Bale hindi nakikialam yung government sa production or sa company natin or sa markets natin. Bale, tayo yung example, tayo yung may-ari ng kumpanya. So, tayo yung mag-manage nun. So, we have a oligarchy capitalism. So, ito naman sa oligarchy capitalism is ito yung markets or economy na kinokontrol siya ng mga mayayamang negosyante. Bale, yung mga mayayaman or may kaya sa buhay, sila yung nagko-control ng economy. So, let's proceed to state-guided capitalism. Dito naman sa state-guided capitalism is okay lang kahit sino yung mag-manage ng kumpanya. Pwedeng mahirap or mayaman or may mga kaya ganyan. Pero dito sa state-guided is yung government, nakikialam sila sa atin para mag-guide sila sa business or negosyo natin para mag-improve yung economy. So, number 3 is corporate capitalism. Capitalism naman is ito yung mga kumpanya na malalaking kumpanya na binubuo ng mga maraming negosyante. So dito sila yung nagko-control ng kumpanya nila. Bale, example kapag may desisyon yung isang may-ari, mga stakeholders, dapat is ipaalam niya din sa mga ibang kasamahan niya. Hindi yung siya lang yung mag-desisyon ng mga gusto niyang gawin sa kumpanya dahil nga sila yung may-ari ng mga company. So dapat lahat sila yung magpatakbo nun, hindi isa lang.
Hello everyone, my name is Swajada Etzwahab. I'm the next reporter. Sa types of capitalism. Number 1 is entrepreneurial capitalism. A system characterized by large number of small business and entrepreneur. So, the example of small businesses include the grocery stores, medical stores. So, number 2 is laissez-faire capitalism. A system with the minimal government interventions in that the market is allowing for competition. So, the laissez-faire capitalism is regarding a principle of forced market capitalism. So, number 3 is welfare state capitalism. A system that combines a free market economy with a strong social safety. So, welfare capitalism is differs from socialism. So, which is characterized by government control of welfare sources. Welfare capitalism is Um,
Characteristic of capitalism. Number 4 is private property. Yung may-ari yung nagko-control. Hindi pwedeng i-control ng mga ibang tao. Dito naman sa voluntary exchange, yun kami yung bahala kung ano yung gusto namin. If gusto ba namin mag-change, sabi ko na nga mag-change ng products or ng goods for our own benefits. So this is the wage labor. Mag-hire ako ng employees para tumulong sa akin sa mga production or sa mga pag-markets para hindi ako mahirapan. So, in exchange naman sa pagtatrabaho nila is bibigyan ko sila ng sweldo, yung wage. So, yun yung wage labor.
Good day everyone, my name is Sherma RC from BTBT GFD 2B. And today we're going to discuss about what is communism. Communism from Latin words communis, common universal. Communism is an economic ideology that advocates for a classless society in which all property and wealth are commonly owned instead of being owned by individual. So, what is communism? Communism is by own everything, lalo na yung money or money's worth mo. Kumbaga sa communism is hawak ng government yung wealth mo, imbis na individual, inaangkin nila. Imbis na parang tayo yung nagmamanage, sila yung nagmamanage ng ari-arian natin o pera natin. Unlike sa capitalist, hawak nila yung money's worth or ari-arian nila. Yung capitalist prioritize nila yung freedom of individual. Sila yung nagmamanage ng mga ari-arian nila, pera nila. Next is vision of society that may be considered communist appeared as long ago as the 4th century BCE. So, parang dati pa, meron ng nagaganap ng ganitong eksena sa 4th century. Inside of society with communal or collective principle na talagang may similarities into ancient times. So, may nabasa or nakita ako sa Greek philosophy, which is si Plato. Si Plato is outlined a form of commonwealth living on his work The Republic, written around 4th century BCE. And Plato described the society where yung property and family structure are commonwealth among the guardian class. Refers to the social organization where yung family roles and responsibility nila is kinokollect within a group rather than being managed by individual. Tapos yun na, he explored the idea about how such a society could achieve justice and harmony. Kung paano daw ma-achieve ng mga society yung justice and harmony or hustisya ng mga society na kinokonek yung mga ari-arian nila. Parang mahigpit na mahigpit. Ganun. While Plato's idea were not communist in the modern sense of term. Actually, existing siya pero hindi siya invented dito. Doon lang sa The Republic. Next, modern communist ideology began to develop during the French Revolution, and its similar track Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels' Communist Manifesto was published in 1848. So, eto na. Eto na tayo sa modern communist. During French Revolution, dito nag-start or na-develop yung modern communist. Is communist which is Communist Manifesto, was published in 1848 by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. It argues that all human history is characterized by class struggles primarily between the bourgeoisie or capitalist class and proletariat working class. Ganun. Yung bourgeoisie or capitalist class is between the very poor and super rich. That is bourgeoisie. So meaning, mayaman ka dito, like may sarili kang pera or ari-arian, yung wealth. Yung proletariat or working class naman is ginagawa mo siya for them. Like, nag-work ka lang ganun, and they paid you according to your abilities and needs. Next is, communism was pitted against capitalism, which relies to democracy and production of capital to form a society. That's the fair of the summary of dialogical contrast, communism and capitalism, na represent ng two approaches para to organizing society and i-manage yung economic production. So, the communist advocates for a classless society where means of production are owned collectively, often by states or the communists, kasi yung goal nila is ma-eliminate yung private property and yung ari-arian nila. And nag-lead yun sa society where yung resources and goods are distributed according to needs rather than profit. While yung capital naman is umaasa sa private ownership of the means of production, free market or general capital, para ma-emphasize yung karapatan ng mga individual and market-driven economics. So that's all. Thank you.
Good day everyone. Good day to you, Sir Leo. I am Crystal Medrigang, and today I will be discussing about global demography. So ano nga ba ang global demography? Global demography, statistical study particularly focusing on their size, structure, distribution, and changes. Over time, due to births, deaths, migrations, and aging. So over every day, nagbabago ang structure and nag-change ang population ng isang bansa or ng isang region. So, ano nga ba ang demography? Demo means the people, graphy means the measurement. So, measurement of the people. Here are some key factors of global demography. First, we have population growth, or we call birth rate. Birth rate, higher birth rates, particularly in developing region, drive population growth. Birth rate represents the number of live births occurring in a population over a specific period. So, ang live birth, guys, ay ang mga batang nabubuhay sa isang population or sa isang community. So, bakit nga ba siya isa sa kasali sa key factors or the main factor of global demography? Dahil, live births ay nagbibigay ng malaking impact sa global demography because it changes the size or population growth rapidly. When we say rapidly is mabilis na pagbabago or changes. In every seconds, minute, or hour, may mga batang nabubuhay sa isang population. Death rates, also known as mortality rate. Lower death rates due to improvement in healthcare and living condition. So, death rate, guys, is a number of deaths in a population. So, kung may nabubuhay, live births, meron ding death rates na namamatay. In every seconds, hour, or minute, may namamatay na tao sa isang population. Bakit nga ba may namamatay? Due to aging, or health problem, and accidents. Fertility rate, measure of the average number of children a woman is expected to have during their reproductive days. Ang fertility rates, guys, nire-measure nila ang babae kung ilan ang kaya nilang ipanganak during sa kanilang reproductive days. When we say reproductive days, guys, if ang babae ay nagkakaroon pa ng menstrual period. Kasi, guys, nagiging, din tayo, infertile. Pag infertile na tayo, guys, it means tayo ay menopause na. Pag sinabing reproductive days, tayo ay meron pang menstrual period. Tayo ay fertile. Magkakaroon pa ng anak. Immigration and emigration. The movement of people across borders impacts dynamic population. Immigration, the process moving into a country to live, work, or settle permanently or temporarily. For example, ng immigration. Ang mga OFW or domestic helpers natin dito sa Pilipinas, pumupunta sila sa ibang bansa para magtrabaho, to work. Ang tawag doon sa kanila is immigration. Ang bansang tatanggap sa kanila ay tinatawag na receiving country. Emigration, the process of leaving one's home country to live in another country. For example, ang babaeng Pilipina ay nakapangasawa ng foreigner na taga-Canada. Ang asawa niyang taga-Canada ay dadalhin ang babaeng Pilipina sa Canada para doon naman nirahan permanently. Urbanization, urban areas are experiencing population boom driven by migration from rural regions. So bakit nga ba pumupunta ang taga-province dito sa cities? Because of economic opportunities like employment and higher wages. Employment, which is job opportunities na binibigay ng taga-cities. And mataas na pagsasahod. Access to education, healthcare services, improved infrastructures, and better quality of life. Education level, access to education and literacy rates greatly impact population dynamics. So, enables individuals to acquire the knowledge and skills necessary from employment, social cohesion, and personal development. Life expectancy. Improvements in healthcare, nutrition, and living conditions have extended life expectancy. Estimate of the average number of additional years that a person given can expect to live. So, life expectancy, guys, ang paghaba ng buhay ng isang tao dahil sa living condition niya, healthcare niya, at ang kanyang pagkain ng masustansyang pagkain. Lastly, dependency ratio. Dependency ratio, the ratio of working age population influences growth and social welfare. Dependency ratio refers to the ratio of working age population, typically those 15 to 64 years old, to non-working age under 15 and above 64. It used to measure the economic burden placed on working age by the dependency population. Which is, pag sinabi natin dependency ratio, nakadepende ang isang tao sa nagtatrabaho. So, ang sabi nga dito, ang mga working age, nagsa-start sa 15 to 64 years old. Ang non-working age naman, nagsa-start under 15 years old and above 64 years old. That's all. Thank you for listening.